Hey everybody! I wanted to start sharing some of the things that I read in this book. The book is written by Rakim. It's called "Sweat the Technique." I'm just going to read what it says on the back to you. It says Rakim reigns as one of hip hop's most transformative artists, along with his partner Eric B. He recorded 1987's "Paid in Full," the landmark recording MTV named the greatest hip hop album of all time. He is the recipient of the 2012 I Am Hip Hop Trophy, the 2013 BET Hip Hop Icon Award, VH1 Hip Hop honors the Source magazine's title Greatest Hip Hop Lyricist of All Time, and is an inductee of the Long Island Music Hall of Fame as well as Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominee. He lives with his family in Pennsylvania. There's a couple quotes on the back here. Dr. Cornel West says he's the Coltrane of hip hop. So I'm just going to talk to you about part one. His book is set up, he's got like an intro part, then he has it in parts. So part one is divided into various sections. Once again, the book is called Sweat the Technique. It's by Rakim. So part one is called Purpose. But before part one, there was an introduction, and I want to talk to you about something that was in that. He talks about meeting Eric B. He says his senior year in high school, his main focus was actually football, and he was a quarterback. And his dream was to go to Stony Brook and play football. He says that summer, one thing he did was he went to DJ Maniac's house, and he made a beat, and that was 60 minutes long. And he said he rhymed over the beat for 60 minutes. He filled up a whole tape, like front and back. He filled up the whole tape just rhyming for 60 minutes. He had a friend named Alvin Tony. So his friend Alvin Tony came to his house one day, and he had somebody with him. And he said Alvin knew better than this, because he said he had a rule like, don't bring anybody to my house. He also said, especially somebody I don't know. So he said, I gave him a look, and Alvin knew what I meant by the look. And he says, hey, look, Rakim, this guy here, he knows Marley Marl and Mr. Magic. He was going around, and he wants to make an album, make a record. He said this is how he met Eric B. The person that was at the door without his friend Alvin was Eric B. Eric was working in promotions at the time for WBLB, and at that time he was going around to the various areas in New York and find the hottest MCs, newest MCs. He's going to put them like on an album. He says so. He let him listen to 5 minutes, just 5 minutes of the album, the tape he had made. And he said after like 5 minutes, he was like, man, we can make a record right now. He says, well, I'm not trying to sign right now because I'm trying to play football. I'm not trying to sign no contract. He was like, that's okay. We'll make it so you don't have to. You can still go play football, but we just want to get you on this record here. So that's how he met Eric B. So part one of Rakim's book is called Purpose. He starts off with a section called How to MC. And he has like that's one of his famous iconic songs. He has the whole song in the book. Okay. So he starts off with that. And then after the song, he has something called How to MC, the notes about this song. So here's some things that he said in that section. He says, How to MC is almost like an I Ain't No Joke 2.0. It's like the second version of I Ain't No Joke. He said in that song, there's braggadocio, there's metaphors, and there's wordplay. He said this was a song that just let him have fun. He says basically what his purpose of the song was, if you want to know how to MC, then just follow me. If you're trying to copy his style, he said he noticed a lot of artists were trying to copy his style. So he wrote a song to say, let me show you how. He said in that song he had lots of wordplay. Example, he had the songs rap, R-A-P, and the word rap, W-R-A-P. So he played off a lot of words like that. He said in that song he had fun with syllables. He said this was the closest thing to a structured song that he had ever used, because it followed like a hook verse consistently, and that was like the closest thing he ever heard to a structured song. Okay, the next section of part one is called Find Your Path. And so he said a couple things. He said find your purpose. Your purpose will give you direction. He said some people are born for what their purpose he believes, and some people find their purpose. For example, he mentioned LeBron James' son. He says that he believes LeBron James' son was born with this purpose. He was born with like this ability to play basketball. He was just born with it. He mentioned Bruce Lee. He said some people find what their purpose is because Bruce Lee's parents were not really like martial artists or weren't master martial artists, for example. He says that football was his first love, and rap actually began as a hobby for him. Okay, in the chapter, the next section is called Originality. He says originality speaks volumes about artists at all levels. What comes from you is what makes you different than everybody else. One way to be the best is to be original and be different. Find your own lane, perfect your own path. One of the things that was happening when he first went to the recording studio is they were telling him like you got to rap with more energy, and because all the rappers of that day like had a beat and then they rapped like he said real loud and forceful over the top of the beat. He said that wasn't his style. His style was like more of a calm style, and so they kept saying, "Man, this is going to put people to sleep. This is not going to work." And he said no matter how many times he delivered, he kept his calm style. And he says that you can't really try to be somebody else. You got to be yourself. Okay, and the next section is called Vibrations. He says that music is vibration. It hits you in different ways. Next part is called Always Be Better Than Yourself. This is one about competition. He says don't worry about competing with other people. He says that your main competition is yourself. He says every day just be better than yourself each thing you did. So like if you made a record like 2 years ago and you're in the process of making one now, try to make yours better than what you already did. Don't try to worry about what the next person does. Don't try to compete with them. Compete with your best. He says our major competition is our own self. When you compete with yourself, it eliminates trying to create like others. Okay, the next part is called the Griffins. And this section was talked about like how his family was a musical family. His mother was his biggest supporter musically. His mother was a great singer. She sang jazz and different things like that. Always had music playing in the home. He says that his mother was always the first to hear some of his original stuff. He said he would, every time he recorded something, he'd play it in his room. And his mother would like sit outside and listen. And she would give her honest opinion. Like just because he was her son doesn't mean that she was just going to like say it was good. She would speak honestly about his work and tell him like truthfully what he needed, give him feedback. He also got introduced to playing the saxophone. Like all his brothers and sisters were musical. His whole family's musical. So he ended up playing the saxophone. He would go downstairs with his brother and he ended up playing his brother's sax. I believe his brother played the keyboard or piano. Another section is called True Meaning. This is where he got his first turntables. He said his mother and father asked him to go through like some catalogs or whatever, something like that, magazines, and put a circle and check mark next to the things you want. Put a star next to the things you really want. So he did that. He said he circled, checked, and starred a turntable, some mixers, and some speakers. He says that his mother was like, "What? Are you crazy? Do you think that we have the money to buy that? Do you want to starve? Do you want to not have heat in the house, electricity?" He said so he didn't get it that year, but he did. His parents did end up buying it for him the next year. He got his first set of mixers and turntables. He talked about his father. His father worked a lot of jobs. He says his father was actually really like a real man of the house. His presence was felt. He says, in fact, both his parents had a great work ethic. He says one day an experience that he ends this section with is he wanted some new shoes. So his father bought him some knockoff Chuck Taylors. And that's not what he wanted. He wanted the real versions. And so he said he called these whack. And he knew he couldn't wear those to school because he would get clowned, for example. So he says he wore them outside and he found like a nail and he took the shoe off and put a nail in the shoe, like put a big hole in the shoe, brought him back in the house and said, "Dad, look, my shoe's got a hole in them." And his dad figured out that he had ripped these shoes on purpose. So he gave him a whooping over the shoes. Like, he went upstairs and got this strap that he used to whoop his kids with, and because he did this on purpose. And he said eventually his dad did go out and buy him the real Chuck Taylors that he wanted. So that was chapter 1, part 1 of Rakim's book called Sweat the Technique. I'll be back with section 2. So once again, this is the book here by Rakim. Peace. If you like the video, I'd like you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel, put a like on the video, put a comment in the video. That way I can continue to bring you great content. Let me know other things you'd like me to share with you. And thanks for listening. Peace.